Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday's Friday Podcast 365. I'm your host, Matty B43. Today on the podcast, we got Cody Mac, a Louisiana boy living his dream, making people laugh. Cody is lighting up the comedy scene in downtown Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And along with his love of comedy, he's a big fan of MMA.
Yeah.
Cody, welcome to the show.
Man, it's great to be here, man. Thank you for hitting me up and inviting me on, dude. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, for our listeners that may not be familiar with your line of work yet, could you give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, man. My name is Cody Mac. I'm a stand-up comedian here in Austin, Texas. I actually started 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago in Denver, and then I moved down here a little over 2 years ago and have been just chasing the dream of being a comedy person out here.
Cody, what has been your most memorable gig you've done in Austin?
I did Kill Tony. I was about 7 months into comedy, and it was my third week here in Austin, and I was just going out to do Kill Tony because I honestly thought, like, oh, that's the biggest thing in comedy right now. So I got on, and I did a really good set, and I got a big joke book from it. But yeah, that's definitely going to be probably my most memorable comedy moment so far.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Go what?
What's the comedy scene like in Austin, Texas? Is it changed with the influx of comedians moving there?
Yes, dude. Yeah. And I'm partly to blame for that as well because I'm one of the comedians who moved here. So I'll take the blame, but it has drastically changed a lot from what I've heard from what it was prior to like Joe Rogan coming down here and opening his club. But it has blew up. It has blown up tremendously. Kill Tony, whenever I first moved down here, was about like 60 to 70 comics who would sign up every Monday. And now it's above 200 every Monday. So like it's so different, it's so big, and it's such a growing industry down here, man. It's really awesome to actually be a part of it like this early on from what it could be in 5 years ago.
Yeah, when you did Kill Tony, was it nerve-wracking? Was it nervous? Did you like do jokes before that, like a smaller venue to warm up to the bigger one?
That night, no, I didn't. That night I just did just Kill Tony, and you could visibly see me shaking. I was so nervous whenever I was doing it because that was the intention whenever I moved down here was I'm going to do Kill Tony and it's going to go super well and my whole life is going to change. And in the moment, it was nerve wracking, man. Like I was shaking because it was insane. But at the end of the set, Tony Hinchcliffe told me how good my set was and that I was doing really good. And I actually made him last. And that was like, I'm actually doing something here. Like this is actually like awesome. So ever since then, man, no matter how many bad sets I've had, like I just know I have to keep going. And it's just really competitive here in Austin for sure.
Yeah, Cody, when did you first realize you wanted to be a comedian?
Okay, so I didn't know how to get into comedy. Everybody always says like, oh, everybody tells me how funny I am. I had always heard that I was funny and I just had no idea how to do comedy. Long story short, I went through a breakup and it was during COVID and I was stuck in the house. Because Denver, they took COVID very seriously. Like, they locked everything down. I was unemployed for like 7 months. And then I ended up going through a breakup, being in an apartment by myself. And one night I was watching Andrew Schultz do his crowd work special, which is a phenomenal comedy special. And I didn't understand how comedy worked at the time. And I was like, this dude is just like doing crowd work for a half hour. And it's amazing. If you give me time to like understand what I'm doing, I can become very good at this. And a month later, I applied to work at a comedy club and got the job. And then I started to meet like real comics. And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to be a comedian. I always thought it was really funny. And they were like, okay, cool. Come do open mics with us. And I was like, okay. And I had 3 days to prepare my first 5-minute set. And my very first night of doing stand-up comedy, the first show was a complete bomb. It was terrible. And then I went to do the second show with the same joke and everything, and I won set of the night.
Remarkable.
So I've got like my first night of comedy, I got the worst and the best case scenario, and it's been very interesting for all 3 years of these, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Cody, what has been some of the best moments you've had on stage?
So I did a comedy work. It's one of the best clubs in America. It's in Denver. And it was actually the first time my dad ever got to see me do comedy. My dad's always been like a stickler because I've been like, I want to be a skateboarder. I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to do this. And he's always been like, nah, I don't know. And whenever I tell him I'm doing comedy, and he was like, "You need to find a real job. Like that's not going to be the job that pays your bills." And I was like, "Okay." And then he saw me do comedy, and he died laughing. And he told me if I ever give up comedy, he will never forgive me because I'm actually doing something really good. And that outside of the Kill Tony, like the most sentimental moment has to absolutely be my dad seeing me do comedy for the first time. Absolutely.
Yeah, something we say on the show a lot is go chase your dreams because your dreams will not chase you.
But they won't. They'll run away from you if you let them. It is, yeah. And comedy is one of those really weird and special things. Like comedy, you're gonna have more bad than good, but the good moments are just like the reason why you do this. Like tomorrow night is gonna be a perfect example. I'm gonna go to the weekly open mic that I go to every single Tuesday. It's at a bar and it's late night. Nobody's gonna be there to listen to stand-up comedy. It just never is the case. So you're going to bomb. Everybody's going to bomb. And it's fun to like have experienced that so much to where whenever I see new people who come in and they're like, I'm going to kill this room, and it's like, okay, go for it, because it's not going to be that easy. So like doing comedy is something like you really, really, really have to fall in love with the craft of it, because you're gonna have more bad than good whenever it comes to it.
Yeah, putting yourself in situations you're not feeling comfortable in, it's the self growth that comes out of it.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I've loved about this, man, is like I've become such a better person because of this. Like I've met some incredible people. I've met and done work with just some awesome, talented, smart people when it comes to this comedy game. And it has just made me such a better person. I don't know if you're like biblical or not, but Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So like it's definitely one of those things like you get around people who have very similar desires as you and y'all all get better. Rising tides raises all boats. So it's like it's an amazing thing to be able to experience of just becoming a better human being in the process of what some people would hate.
Yeah, that's really impactful.
Yeah, man. It's so before I did whenever I'm from Louisiana, so before I went to Denver, I got really, really close with my youth pastor at the time. And to touch on to like MMA, he taught me we did MMA for a couple years together. And it was amazing because the life lesson I learned in that is no matter how good or how talented you are at something, there's always gonna be somebody bigger, better, and badder. And that I think just learning that lesson in itself has been something that's helped me just grow leaps and bounds in comedy because it's such a universal lesson. And now I get to meet insanely funny people all the time. And it's like, I'm very glad that I'm not the funniest person in this room, because if I was, I'd be in the wrong room. So like the comedy is just so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, how do you handle like tough crowds in moments your jokes just don't work?
So there's the way that you should handle it and the way that I handle it. It's taken me until like probably about 6 months ago where I wouldn't have a meltdown, but you would definitely see me like retracting to myself, and then I'll just throw out like a joke that like I knew worked because it's just like something that I just have worked out so much. Like I would be able to get you back, but then I would feel not right because I had to do essentially a Hail Mary just to get you back. But now it's more of I can just hang out in that awkwardness because it's something you're gonna have to learn how to navigate in. It's like, oh, that joke didn't land. Let me make a joke about how stupid I am for trying that joke. And then let me try to work my way out of it. So like hard crowds, man, it really depends on your style of comedy. Like for me, I like to tell jokes about where I'm the dummy. The joke's always on me. And I don't really have that many problems with a hard crowd because they get to laugh and point when most of the time they're probably sad or depressed or something. And now they get to laugh at somebody else's misery. So it makes them feel a little bit better about themselves. And me, I get to craft ideas and jokes in my head about how I'm a big dummy from Louisiana. And like, it just makes people feel so much better about themselves. And that's the way in my way of thinking, that's the way to win a crowd over is like, give them a central point to laugh at, and then just be that. Just be exactly what you think they want you to be at times, and then just have fun. That's the best one. If you're not having fun, they're not having fun.
No, that's really amazing how you put that. I mean, I gotta ask you this one. I mean, what do you think about cancel culture? I mean, how does that affected your whole career?
Cancel culture, I hope, honestly, I hope that it's slowly going away, just for the sheer point of when people don't have to watch what they say, they can actually be real free with it. They can have more fun with it. For me, I try to always stay away from topics that would teeter that line. Now, whenever I first got into comedy, I would have some of those wild jokes. Like, I still have one of them that I do every so often, but it's not an often joke because it's really, really, really depends on like where I'm at. The joke I'm talking about. I can do it in Denver and get a laugh because it's a hot topic, but it's like you have to really walk it fine. But if I say that same joke here in Texas, the 2 times I've said it, it did not do well. So I don't do it unless it's in a place where I think it will work. But whenever I don't ever plan on releasing a special within like the next like 5 years, just because I want to make sure it's perfect. But like if I would ever do a special, it would not make that. It would be more of a you have to be there to see it type of situation. But cancel culture, I truly hope that it's slowly dissolved because I think that's when we get some of our best humor. Laughing at stuff that we're not supposed to.
Yeah, some of the skits back in the '90s, they were pretty funny.
Dude, they're like, yeah, yes. If you take like Eddie Murphy's Raw and you put
Yeah,
that to today,
yeah.
it won't do so well. Like then you have Matt Rife on his first comedy special, alienates the women crowd, which is what got him to the show in the first place. And then B, he starts off with a woman should be in the kitchen joke, with like abusing a woman joke. It's like, okay, I see where you're going with that. Clever, but that's not what's got you here. Well, if you do that and you stick to what you know and you stick to that kind of stuff, then you'll be a lot safer. Like stick to the funny stuff. Make something has to be more funny than it is offensive. And that's tough. That's tough. That's why I try to stay away from offensive stuff because you can shoot for it and just completely miss. So I'm just very picky about what I say with the microphone in my hand.
What's some of the funniest moments you've had on stage?
Okay. I was doing a show at Cap City last year, and my opening joke is about me smoking weed and forgetting where I live. And I knew that there was a group of teachers to the side of the stage. So my opening line was, anybody else here smoke weed? And like some people raised their hands, and then I noticed one of the teachers in the back of the group raise her hand. And I was like, oh my God, did one of the teachers just admit to smoking weed? And the whole room just like erupted. And I had them for the rest of my set. And I was like, that's hilarious. That's one of the funniest things ever because it's super illegal here in Texas. The fact that a teacher, that I just was like, you can't write that kind of moment. That has to happen naturally.
Yeah, do you mostly feel off the crowd when you're saying your jokes?
I do with my first joke. So I have 2 different 7.5 minute sets that I can do. One of them is they both start the exact same with the weed joke, and then I can really gauge kind of where the crowd is at. If they're iffy on weed, then I kind of go on the easier side. If they're kind of like that's fine, then I go a little bit of a harder jokes where like I don't know how clean I have to be on your podcast. I don't want to be disrespectful. But I have a joke where I talk about legalizing cocaine. But if I became president, because I don't know anything about politics, but that would be the only platform that I would run on, is I would legalize cocaine. And I've done that joke once, and it has a very harsh ending. And only one time have I been able to actually succeed with it, but it was a crowd of drunk men, and they were so cool with it. Like, I've had some, like, wild moments, man. Like really kind of thinking back on it. I mean, the Kill Tony set, I juggled because I can juggle. I juggled and I shadow boxed on stage, but I was never like a striker when I did MMA. I was more of a jujitsu kind of person. I don't like to be punched in the face. I don't think anybody does. So I just made a complete fool of myself, shadow boxing in front of a room of about 500 people and the almost million people who've seen it online.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot of like, well, I hope I don't make a fool of myself. Well, I'm here anyways. Let's just do it. So
You leaned into it.
yeah, I had to commit to the bit. I had to. But my next idea is if I go back to Kill Tony, I'm gonna bring a Rubik's Cube with me, and I'm gonna solve a Rubik's Cube while he's doing the interview. That's my next idea. If I go back.
Yeah, I mean, has there been any shows that had just completely went off the rails?
Not that I've been a part of, but I have seen, okay, I have seen one when I was working at the comedy club, and I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a 5 show weekend. So it was 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 1 show Sunday. And he was there to promote his headlining show the next weekend. The first show on the Friday, he got booed off stage. And then I was working the green room, so I had to go like check on him after he did his set to see if he needed water or anything. And he was crying in the green room. And I'm like, dude, you have to get it together. You have a whole nother show to do tonight. And he barely mustered his way through it, but he did it. And I was very proud of that. But I've watched people get booed off stage before. And that is, you feel so bad for them because it's like, yeah, it was rough. And he had to do 4 more shows the rest of the weekend. And yeah, he had a rough go at it.
Yeah, for
But I'm,
someone starting off, is there that's going saying like this is going to be harder than I thought? Do you have any advice for them?
yeah. So my biggest tip would be write every day. It doesn't have to be funny. If anything, whenever you're first starting off, don't try to be funny. Just try to figure out how to be yourself. Like I'm still in the process of trying to figure out how to be myself in my writing and in my and on stage, just myself kind of exaggerated. Like write what you know about your life. Write about you. Nobody knows you more than you. So definitely pull from real life. If you want to exaggerate some points, go for it. If you have any stand-up comedy like role model that you like look up to and you're like, oh, this guy's really funny. He's always made me laugh. I would recommend to listen to them on repeat. That's what I did for my first 6 months is I was working at J. Crew at the time and I didn't work the front. So I was just like a stock boy. So I'd be in the back listening to just my whole 8 hour shifts, different comedians for like a whole week. I listened to their specials on repeat, learn their cadences, learn how they make punchlines. Where do they put the punchlines? Like try to learn from the best that there is. And every person has a different opinion of who their favorite comic is. Mine is Andrew Schultz, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer at times, and Bill Burr. That's my top four. And I studied them like religiously for 6 months to the point where I was trying to write bits in their voice. So that if I can mimic them, then I can find my own. And then when I find my own, I'm able to do it myself. So I did that for a while. And then I started to find my own voice in it. And one of the biggest tips is just write and just learn about yourself. Enjoy the ride because it is not an overnight sensation. Nobody in this game is an overnight sensation. It takes time, a lot.
Yeah, I say it's about the journey, not the destination, but it's about that self development you do throughout the journey that actually makes it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah.
Cody, do you have a memory like when you realized, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be a comedian, and what led up to that decision?
So the moment where I was like, okay, I have to be 100% committed to this idea is I left my life in Denver to move down here in Austin. And I was like, this is me giving it my real attempt. Because in Denver, I was working in a comedy club where I was getting like regular time on stage and I could see it become very comfortable because the people around me was kind of getting settled into their ways. And I was like, I love this for you guys, but I don't think I belong here. Like I feel like I have to go to Austin. I just do. The timeline just lined up so perfectly for me to move down to Austin. I stayed on a couch for 6 months, one of my homies' couch, and so much of my life was not happy in Denver. So where I was like, this is my only attempt to escape. Because if I stay here, I'm gonna get trapped here, like all of my friends, and I don't want that to be the case. So it took me 3 days, and I was like, yep, it's time for me to go to Austin. And then like me coming here was my like, all right, we're committed to this idea now. You don't have a choice. You don't get to back out anymore. Like it was different when I was in Denver, like, oh, cool, it's a cool little hobby. Now you change your life for this decision. You have to commit to it. And I don't ever see a day where I'm not doing comedy. I think it's amazing.
I think it is too. Can you tell us the first time you ever performed stand up? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you lean into it a little bit more for me?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it was a Tuesday night, and I started writing jokes on a Sunday night. the jokes were so out there. They were just, one of them was me telling a story about when I got catfished by a transgender person. It was hit or miss. The setup took way too long for it. Another joke was, so my ex-girlfriend and my sister have the same name. So it makes, sex awkward, like moaning like my girl's name and like my ex-girlfriend's name at the same time. A little incest joke, but it's, yeah, that one. And then I had the breast cancer joke, which was the one about my mom. So my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 10 years old. And my dad's an amazing guy. He worked so hard for the family. He had it where he could, like, my mom didn't have to work. She could just focus on being healthy, took care of all of her medical bills. And then, like, a year to the date of when he finished paying off her medical bills, she divorced him. Long story short, women ain't shit. That's the joke, essentially. There's some cleanup there. But those were the jokes that I wrote in like 3 days, and I performed them. The first set was at a bar. It's called the Tavern on 26th in Denver. I don't know if the open mic even still goes on there. It's been so long. I did those jokes to a room of people just staring at me and having no idea. Like, I thought I was speaking some other language. Like, it was a very rough situation. And then we went to another place called The Hangover, and it's the Hangover Mike. It's actually ran by my dude named Ace. Ace is a very smart guy, very good dude. So I started talking to him about it, how the tavern just went, and he was like, "Well, just try this, and it might go a little bit better for you." And then I did. I took those notes, and then I did it, and I won set of the night on essentially the same joke, and I was like, "Oh, this is insane." So I got to ride the roller coaster of comedy in 3 hours. And you get such an adrenaline dump from an idea that you crafted in your head, making a room full of complete strangers laugh. And it's the worst drug I've ever done, because now I'm hooked on it. I'm hooked on making people happy and laugh. And the first night that I did comedy, man, it was something I'll never forget. And it's actually September 11th is actually my anniversary for stand-up comedy.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, man.
Cody, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute blast hearing about your comedy journey and your love for the MMA.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, we do appreciate each and every one of you. And next time, keep chasing your dreams, because those dreams will not chase you. And do you have anything else you want to say, Cody?
Man, y'all just keep watching Every Day is Friday podcast. It's going to be amazing. We're going to blow it up, man. And then if you guys don't mind checking out Cody Mac _comedy on all the socials, that's where you'll find me at. I have a new animated show coming out in the next 6 months, so be on the lookout for that. It's called Munchbox. It's going to be hilarious. And if Matt has me back, I'd love to talk about it some more, man. Be awesome.
That's what we're talking about. It'll be all in the description down below. See you next time.